One of the most powerful behaviors to take you where you never thought possible is the act of studying. In our repertoire of behaviors, each action has a specific function, and studying is no exception. When you identify a clear, personal purpose for studying, whether it's to pass an exam, deepen your knowledge, or understand a fundamental topic in your life, the desire to study arises naturally. Often, contrary to what we hear, the habit of studying doesn't need to be sustained by discipline alone. Instead, it needs to be driven by genuine motivation, a desire that comes from within. For those who truly want to build a strong and consistent study habit, the secret is to have a big reason, a meaningful purpose that moves you to carry out this behavior. When that reason is truly relevant to you, studying becomes more enjoyable and less exhausting. Thus, over time, this practice becomes an almost automatic part of your daily routine. Over the weeks, months, and years, this behavior solidifies, and studying becomes increasingly accessible and rewarding. Of course, in specific cases of neurological or psychiatric challenges, finding that motivation may be challenging. But for many people, the key lies in finding a deep, personal motivation. It's also important to consider how traditional teaching methods and educational institutions may have, in a way, diminished your natural desire to learn. Often, the educational system forces us to study subjects that don't spark our interest, without clearly explaining the reason for it. I want to make it clear that I'm not trying to make a conspiratorial critique against formal education, as some people do on the internet, saying that school or college don't matter. In fact, I believe that formal education is essential. College can be crucial for personal and professional growth, and early childhood education is undoubtedly one of the most important pillars to transform our society into something better. However, throughout our lives, we are exposed to repetitive and obligatory studies that sometimes seem meaningless, which can make us lose the enthusiasm and value we once placed on studying. In my view, knowledge is power. The more you learn about a subject, the greater your repertoire, which allows you to analyze that topic in depth, understand its nuances, and identify what can be useful for your life. This knowledge can help you better deal with challenges, adapt to adverse situations, and improve your quality of life. With each new thing I learn, I see how that information can be a valuable tool for solving problems or expanding my horizons, which leads me to want to study even more and explore various topics. Although some specific subjects and disciplines may seem dull or distant from our interests, there's a reason our brains often resist studying them. It is constantly evaluating the effort required to learn something versus the reward that knowledge will bring. It's a natural calculation, an energy economy, that makes content considered uninteresting harder to absorb. But there is a way to handle this. By starting to see the very act of studying as a reward, or by associating studying with intrinsic satisfaction, you can maintain the habit even when the immediate reward is not visible. It's like training your brain to understand that studying is valuable in itself, not just for what it will provide you in the future. The experience of studying also undergoes a transformation process. Over time, the mind of someone who studies regularly begins to see value and beauty in any subject. A turning point emerges, where you realize that studying isn't just about mastering the final content, but about understanding how it was developed over history and how it connects with other areas. This reasoning process about the development of knowledge becomes fascinating, and you begin to see learning as a kind of investigation about the world, where each discovery brings a new perspective. Another essential factor to enhance your study performance is your physiological state. Often, attention and the ability to absorb information depend on your level of alertness and how you are physically. Therefore, being in an adequate, distraction-free, and comfortable environment helps direct your focus to the content. Distractions like cell phones, constant noise, or an uncomfortable environment, whether due to heat or disorganization, can divert your concentration, diminishing the value of the study experience. These little factors, when neglected, make studying harder and less rewarding. Even before sitting down to study, preparing your environment and routine is fundamental. Reserve a quiet and comfortable place, free of stimuli that compete for your attention. Turn off your phone, organize your space, and if possible, set a specific time to study. These precautions allow the brain to perceive the act of studying as a rewarding activity, which, in turn, increases your motivation to repeat this experience in the future. This preparation is especially important when the study involves denser or more challenging content. To better illustrate this idea, I'll share a personal example. Once, on a weekend, I decided to study a technical book on psychotherapy. Knowing that reading would require concentration, I prepared beforehand. I made food for the next 3 days, informed my family that I would be unavailable, and turned off my phone. I organized my entire environment and focused solely on studying, leaving only for a quick physical activity. This preparation allowed me to immerse myself in the content, transforming that study experience into something pleasant. At the end of that period, not only did I have a great experience with the material, but I also created a positive memory of that moment. The next time I need to study a dense topic, I'll probably remember this experience and feel more motivated to repeat the behavior. On the other hand, if you approach studying with a mindset of suffering, thinking that studying is a burden, surrounded by distractions like your phone, in a disorganized environment, and with an exhausted mind, the study process ends up being draining. If your physiological state is not prepared to absorb the content, the experience will be unsatisfying, and you'll hardly see studying as something rewarding. So if sleep isn't prioritized, if you study tired or hungover, your mind won't respond in the same way. The brain needs to be awake and ready for studying to be effective and enjoyable. Therefore, if your goal is to make studying a pleasurable and meaningful part of your life, start by organizing your body and environment for this activity. When you prepare so that the study experience is positive, the brain begins to see this activity as something rewarding and worth repeating. Over time, this practice becomes a habit, and studying stops being a sporadic effort to become a lifestyle choice. Finally, the act of studying is much more than an isolated behavior. It integrates into your lifestyle. Studying is about being open to constant learning, to seeking knowledge that you can apply in your life, and that allows you to grow, better understand the world, and solve problems with greater wisdom. By creating a favorable mental and physical environment, you turn studying into a life tool, and over time, you develop a genuine passion for learning.